Metropolitan Nashville Short-Term Rental Appeals Board. We have a couple of housekeeping matters that we're going to take care of first, and we have a board member who is on his way, mistakenly went to the other usual location. So thanks for putting up with us for just a few minutes while we take care of some housekeeping issues. First being...
Good afternoon. The Metropolitan Short-Term Rental Board of Appeals is now in session for the regularly scheduled meeting of July 24th, 2024. I am Short-Term Rental Chief Bonnell McBroom III. I will be presenting the cases to the board for review in today's public hearing. At this time, I would ask everyone to either turn off their cell phones or put them on silent as not to disrupt today's meeting. The procedure will be for staff to introduce the case record. At the conclusion of our presentation, the appellant will present their case to the board along with any person in support. If there is opposition to the case, the board will then hear from those parties. After the opposition has presented their testimony, the appellant will have a period for rebuttal. The board in their rules provide for cases without opposition 5 minutes total for the appellant, including members of the public speaking in support of the appeal, to present their case and supporting comments. For cases that have opposition, the rules provide the appellant, including members of the public speaking in support of the appeal, 10 minutes total for their presentation and rebuttal of the opposition's presentation. For members of the public speaking in opposition, 10 minutes is provided. This is 10 minutes total for all speakers combined and not 10 minutes for each speaker. For members of the public that want to submit comments to be entered into the record prior to the meeting that are either in support of or opposition to an appeal, the comments must be submitted to the board staff no later than 5 days prior to the public hearing. Send comments to strboard@nashville.gov. Documentation supporters or opponents wish to provide to the board after the deadline can be presented to the board members by providing 8 copies at the public hearing. However, the board may elect to defer the case in order to review any materials received after the deadline. The Metro Code requires that these proceedings be taped. Therefore, it is imperative that anyone addressing the board come forward, speak into the microphone, identify yourself, and then make your presentation. It should be noted, if it is found that anyone has presented false or misleading testimony to the board that would have affected the board's decision, any approval may be revoked at a later date by means of show cause hearing. The board will go through the cases set for public hearing today. After both sides of the case presentations are made, the board will discuss and vote on the case. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases before us today under the provisions as outlined in section 6.28.035 of the Metropolitan Code. The code requires 4 members of the 7-member board to be present to constitute quorum. The board rules require a majority vote in the affirmative of members present to grant appellant's application. In the event that the majority vote is not achieved, the case will remain on the board's agenda for the next regularly scheduled public hearing. Applications that fail to receive a majority affirmative vote at the next regularly scheduled public hearing shall be deemed denied by operation of law. Any aggrieved party may request within 60 days of the entry of an order appeal a finding of the board under common law writ of certiorari in accordance with TCA 27-9-101 and following to the Chancery Court within the same 60-day period. After that time has elapsed, the board's decision becomes final. No further action can be taken. If you are an appellant and your case is granted, it will be necessary for you to obtain the permit for which you have applied. It should be noted that the permit must be obtained within 2 years for the board approval to remain valid. I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order. All appellants have been notified by certified mail as required by the code, and all affected property owners have been notified, and legal notification sign requirements have been met as required by the code. So, Chairman Caputo, first on our agenda today, we have a proposed rule change that we would like to address. Under number 5 in the current rules, conflict of interest, D, submittals, is to be removed from number 5 and moved to number 6, procedure.
Can we pop that on the screen?
One
Alicia,
moment.
Okay, thanks.
The proposed change will move D submittals from number 5, conflict of interest, to number 6, procedure. It will again be section D under number 6, with the following sections of number 6 to be relabeled in alphabetical order.
I'd make a motion to approve the rule change.
I second. Let me see a show of hands. Very good. The motion carries. So we'll make that change.
Our second order of business is the guidelines used by the zoning department in order to determine residency other than those that are stated in the Metro ordinance. The Secretary of State guidelines for residency, which I have sent to you previously in your packets, I thought was a proposed constitutional amendment. However, council has pointed out to me that it is not, but it is actually the result of Tennessee Code Annotated. This is a large determining factor as to residency for an owner-occupied permit. We also, in the past, have used the principal residence as a factor. It was a proposed amendment to the state law governing short-term rentals that has not yet been codified into law, but council has advised against this, so going forward, if the zoning administrator is in agreement, we will not be using this until it is passed. However, the ordinance BL 2018-455, Metro ordinance defines permanently reside, and that is codified into law, and we've used that. Is there any
So
member-
do we need to take action on that?
No, this is informational
Okay.
only.
Great.
Sorry, what was the code section that you said defines permanently reside in Metro Code?
It is from BL 2018-1455, an ordinance amending 17.04.060 of the Metro Nashville Code.
I'm sorry, one more time on the number, please.
It's BL 2018-1455.
Sorry, do you have the actual code section, not the bill number? This is the first, I think, that I'm hearing of this, so I want to make sure that I can refer to the code section.
I'm sorry, I don't. Actually, at the time that this was written, the short-term rental ordinance was in Chapter 17 of the Metro Code. It's subsequently been moved to Chapter 6. And so without having it in front of me, I would say it would be 6.04.060. But I can't say that with surety.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. McBroom. Anything else, or anyone have any additional questions? Obviously, we'll want to review that part of the ordinance. But,
That is just the guidelines that
Yep.
the zoning department uses in determining residency when there's a question about it.
understood.
Now, at this point, we take an opportunity to see if there are any elected officials in the presence that would like to speak to the board. Seeing none, we can proceed to the first case if you wish.
I'm sorry, Mac, I'm going to interrupt for a sec. Did you all want to address the March meeting minutes? They're
Yeah.
on your agenda.
Oh, I apologize. Yes, we had the March meeting was what took place here. Unfortunately, it was not taped by the Metro Nashville Network, and so we had to enter minutes into the record.
Understood.
We'll need to vote on those minutes.
Okay. Can we review them? Can they be?
They were sent to us. I have them.
Hold on.
So I think they were sent to us.
Did Alicia send them? Notifications for July meeting? There we go. Okay. Bear with me 2 seconds while I look at this.
Can I ask a procedural question? If there are just small grammatical errors, I'm a perfectionist, so that bugs me a little bit, but it doesn't really affect the content of the minutes. Are we able to make a motion and instruct staff to just double check?
Of course.
Okay.
And you could send suggested edits if you want to send
Okay.
substantive edits, and you could have a motion to propose accepting them with those edits.
Okay. I do have some non-substantive edits.
Hold on. So Phil, okay, so I was here, Phil was here, Mike was here, Nicole was here, and Sean Parker was here. So the 4 of us are able to vote, so we should be fine. We're not interested.
I think you could probably vote as to form, but that's not necessary, I guess. Could I also ask just that there is a Mrs. Williams referred to at some point? Let me find the case. And I just want to clarify, it was someone who was opposed to an application. I just want to clarify that that was not me. So if we could maybe find her first name, if possible. It's a common last name. I don't want people to think I was speaking in opposition and then ruling on the case. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, great.
Great. Well, I move that we approve the March minutes.
Could we amend that? Just how would you phrase that, Anne?
Could just say that you move to approve them and ask that the staff also make any non-substantive grammatical changes that you would later submit. I mean, Ms. Williams, are you going to send some edits you'd like them to add?
Yeah. Is that acceptable to you?
Absolutely.
motion?
Why
Okay.
don't you make that motion?
Okay, well, I would move that we approve the March 27th, 2024 minutes, subject to some non-substantive grammatical edits that I plan to send to staff for review.
I second. Can we see a show of hands? Great. Okay. So the minutes are approved, and Sean is here. So we will go to our first case. Oh, no, we
sorry.
won't. Go ahead, Whitney.
Legal, I would really like to have the ordinance or the section of Metro Code dealing with residency requirements, if, for purposes of today, and I'm having trouble finding it. Can you help us
So
locate
I
that?
think that what he's referring to is the definition of permanently reside, just in 1704-060. I don't not have not been privy to this discussion prior, so I think that's what is being referred to. And there is, and I believe the other reference was to Tennessee Code annotated 2-2-122. And this is basically, these are the statute pertains to how it's determined whether or not someone is a resident for purposes of being able to vote in the state. And I think that they were just saying that they use this as sort of like they use these essentially guidelines in informing their understanding of whether someone is actually residing here for the purpose of being eligible for an owner-occupied STRP permit.
Hasn't it been moved out of 17, though? I think that ordinance, that was a couple of years back. They changed it from 17 to Chapter 6.
You mean generally the STRP ordinance? Yes, that has been moved, but the
But that
definition that I
definition
believe
stays
he's
in
referring
17.
to is still in 17.
Excellent. Okay.
And could I ask a question not about that? Sorry, there's so much. sort of administrative business. But in our agenda where it says board discretion, I think it says no for pretty much all of these cases. But I do believe that we have discretion for most, if not all of them, under BL 2023-136. So I just want to clarify moving forward so that, the public isn't confused and appellants aren't confused about whether or not we have discretion in those cases. And maybe we could indicate what you currently do, which is the ordinance under which that was in effect at the time that the permit was issued. And then also clarify whether BL 2023-136 applies.
At the beginning of each of your case summaries, you will see that
Yes.
it's governed by the bill that was in effect at the time the permit was issued in accordance with state law. And it also says that the board has discretion under BL 2023-136.
Yes, and that's in our case summaries, but the public doesn't have our case summaries. So I just want to make sure that on our agendas moving forward.
I think
It's read into the record at each meeting.
And it's,
As
don't
the
they get the
public is,
docket? Governing ordinance is right there in the
but
docket.
it says board discretion N.
Right.
And so I understand that it's read into the record, but for people preparing to come to the meeting, like if someone was opposed to it and they see, oh, the board doesn't even have discretion to lower the 1-year limit, so why would I come? It's just a request, just so we're clear in the agenda.
We'll be happy to accommodate that.
Thank you so much. Apologies for being so difficult this afternoon.
So if you look to Whitney, the email, it's dated 7/2, and the headline is notifications for July meeting. The principal residents and permanently reside. There's a state commerce and labor amendment. Exactly. Yep. Cool. All right, are we good? Ready to move on? Ready to call the first case? Going once? Okay. Mr. McBroom, can you call the first case, please?
Our first case is 2024-011, 2523 Clifton Avenue. Unfortunately, we were informed just before the meeting that the appellants would not be able to attend. They come from California, and due to the recent glitch in the airline service, they were unable to make it in. Our next case is STR 2024-012, 610 Poplar Place. Is the appellant present? This is the second time that this has been on the board's agenda. Therefore, it will be dismissed for lack of prosecution.
Okay.
Case number 3 is STR 2024-020, 1619 24th Avenue North, Christina Bigelow, advertising and operating prior to obtaining a permit. This is an RS5 zone district, which allows only owner-occupied permits. This permit is governed by BL 2020-187, which requires a 1-year wait, and the board has discretion under BL 2023-136. February 17th of 2021, the appellant acquired the property at 1619 24th Avenue North. The Airbnb advertisement was posted.
Can you pause for a quick second? Can we catch up on the case? We're still, okay, there we go. Thank you.
On December 25th, 2023, a second Airbnb advertisement was posted, and the second advertisements were posted and removed some 68 times between December 12th, 2023 and April 23rd, 2024. April 15th of 2024, this property address was on Metro's compliance contractor, Granicus Host Compliance monthly list for operating without a permit. Inspector John Phelps opened an investigation and confirmed that there was one website advertisement posted with reviews. A notice violation was sent. There were 2 documented stays in March of 2024 and 1 in April. April 23rd of 2024, the website advertisement was removed. On May 8th of 2024, an owner-occupied STRP permit application was filed. On May 9th of 2024, Inspector Robert Osborne reviewed the permit application. Inspector Osborne saw that the property had been advertised and operated as a short-term rental property and that it had been cited for the violation by Inspector Phelps. Inspector Osborne denied the application and informed the appellant by email that the permit was denied because it had been advertised and operated as a short-term rental property prior to obtaining a permit. He also informed the appellant that the ordinance requires the applicant to wait 1 year from the time of the last rental before applying for a permit. However, she has the right to appeal. On May 10th, 2024, the appeal was filed. On May 15th of 2024, the advertisement had been removed. Inspector Phelps closed the case. There were no complaints on the short-term rental hotline or Hub Nashville.
Mr. McBroom, can I just so you said there were no complaints on Hub Nashville where it was, but we're catching that there was some recognition? Was it just caught in a scrubbing?
I apologize, Chairman. I did not check to see if the appellant was present.
Oh, is the appellant present? Okay.
Very good.
Good.
Is there any opposition?
Okay. But can I just double check? It was, the property address was on the compliance contractor's host compliance monthly list, but that is just a matter of computer programs comparing themselves to one another and not a human being reporting that?
No, the monthly list that's provided by our compliance contractor, they monitor every short-term rental advertisement in the surrounding area of Metro, and they have access, being a contractor, to our records as to who does and who does not have a permit.
Okay.
Those comparisons are made when it's found that the advertisement is for a property that has been identified that does not have a permit and therefore is not in compliance. Then that address is posted on the list, and we're given a list monthly.
Got it. Okay. Any questions for Metro before we hear from the appellant?
I have
Great.
one question. Do we know if there were any documented stays since April?
No, ma'am, there have not been.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Bigelow, why don't you come forward? Come right up here to one of these chairs, preferably in front of a microphone. And I don't know if Mac just told you, but when you're ready to, oh no, have a seat. And when you're ready to speak, there should be a push button. When the light is green, it's on. And you have no opposition, so you have 5 minutes to tell us about your situation.
And can you hear me now?
Sure can.
Okay. So again, my name is Christina Bigelow. Thank you for having me and allowing me to speak. So unexpectedly, I was laid off July of 2023. So after a year of applying, I was able to find a part-time job just this April or so. In my field, luckily, my background is HR. So I did decide to rent my guest room or my guest bedroom temporarily to help me meet my minimal expenses, which includes mortgage, utilities, medical expenses, food, etc. I am an unmarried female business professional, so I am independently paying for all of my bills and everything myself. I was unaware that I needed a permit for an owner-occupied anything, so I permanently live at the residence. So I've been a resident of Nashville, Tennessee since July of 2019, and I bought my home, as stated, in February of 2021. When I was notified that I did need a permit, I immediately took down my listing, and just as instructed. I did complete, as stated, the submitted STR application within a week, receiving the permit required notice. And since my application was denied, I am here appealing that decision as well. So I would like to obtain this owner-occupied short-term rental permit so that I can start renting my guest room to help me supplement my income that I no longer have. And, the short term is a much better fit for me because long-term roommates in the past, again, I'm 36, I've had them, I've done it. They just don't tend to work out well. So the short term would be better, hosting travelers here ever so often, which I travel myself, and it's great to meet new people in different ways as well. So, but yeah, so that's really my case. Like, I apologize, I just didn't know. And just following through, doing the next right thing, and asking for an exception to be able to do it, and not having to wait that year. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Bigelow? Go ahead.
Hey, thanks for being here. I was just curious. We don't usually see an advertisement being posted and removed 68 times, and there's not anything that would really impact my
I'm not.
position on this. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
how
I was
you were-
wondering about that too. But I've never hosted, or it's been years since I hosted anything on Airbnb. So that may have been me like changing it, taking it down, having to, I guess all the, having it as a shared space, have how it's listed, what they have. I was figuring it out, talking to super hosts. Airbnb does a great job of kind of giving you a mentor to try and tell you. So that during that time is what I was being told. Here's an option for you to do this. And then, like I said, changing it or not being able to, or what do I do if I, have family at my house and I don't, I need to block it off. I don't want it during this time, take a break, all those things. So it's like a long learning process.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Anyone else have any questions? Getting a little feedback on someone's mic. Can I? Christina, Ms. Bigelow, can I ask you to turn your mic off? Yep. Yeah, I think it was yours. Sorry. Can I ask you a question of staff? Correct me if I'm wrong. Despite the ordinance under which, actually, Ms. Bigelow's never been given a permit, so she doesn't have an ordinance which dictates, right?
Well, the ordinance in effect at the time of the violation.
Okay. But because she appealed after I think the date was early spring, we do have some discretion not to determine that an error was made, but rather to give some relief in the number of months that she's held, right?
Yes, in fact, I'd be happy to read to you the section from the ordinance. Number 1, intent, whether the appellant did knowingly commit a wrongful act under the code. And yeah, that would be what applies in this case.
Great.
But you do have that discretion.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions before we discuss this amongst ourselves?
If I may make
Oh, yeah,
one
please.
point. Airbnb, you can take an advertisement down, but they will only allow it to be down for a period of time before they repost it. And it is, it's a numbers game in the first place. And in the second place, they just do not want the content of the advertisement lost in case the owner wants to repost it. So that could explain a part of that posting up and down.
Sure. Makes sense.
Just
Great.
to add one more thing to
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
There are multiple factors, right, that you would consider. I think you're aware under 628.035.
Yes, that we can consider hardship, right? We could consider,
Injury to neighboring
Yep.
residents and properties, undue hardship, and remedial action, furtherance of public policy.
I remember all those things, just wanted to make sure that Ms. Bigelow's appeal fell within that timeframe. So, great. Okay, thank you so much for your time. We are going to discuss this amongst ourselves. You're free to return to your seat. Anyone? Please.
So I think this, for me, there are no complaints from neighbors. There was a good faith effort to correct the violation once it was brought to her attention. There were only 3 documented personally to reduce the 1-year waiting period down to 3 months from, I would say probably from May 1st, since we know that there was a stay in April and there weren't any stays in May, which would almost put her at 3 months.
I concur on almost everything.
Okay.
I think you're being a little overly generous with the time frame, only because I do know that's mentoring system with Airbnb. If somebody didn't mention, ignorance of the law is no excuse, number one. Number two, if somebody didn't mention you need a permit in Nashville, or you need a permit in many, many cities, they should have. So shame on whoever mentored this young woman.
Well, but I wouldn't hold her accountable for the mentorship. I would hold her accountable for not following the ordinance,
Yeah.
but if,
Right.
you know.
And it's a 12-month waiting period, and I think cutting that in half is completely reasonable. Cutting it down to 3 months, I think might be overly generous.
Hi, Nicole. I
Hi,
agree
Phil.
with you.
Thank you. Finally, someone agrees with me.
3 months?
3 months.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
I don't think that it's I don't think that this was any kind of effort to harm the community. I just think it was oversight. I agree with you that the mentor program
Yeah.
should have been better. But that's not the appellant's responsibility ultimately. Awareness of the law, though,
There you go.
is critical. My only question, and this is just from not knowing entirely, but does Airbnb require a permit to be listed within their site?
I don't think they do.
No,
I
but
think
we do.
Okay.
We did. That's okay. They don't require it, but we do. And it's too bad that they don't require it because we do. But, go ahead.
I'm sorry, were you done, Phil? Okay. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with the 3 month suggestion, because the immediate action to remediate the situation by the appellant, lack of complaints from neighbors, and the permit is really important. There's a safety inspection involved. It makes sure that folks know that taxes need to be remitted. And the goal of this stuff is compliance, not punishment, but the 1 year wait period does serve as a deterrent to folks just kind of going out and operating and then begging for forgiveness after the fact. But I don't think that that's what's happened in this case. I have every reason to believe that the appellant did not know about the permit requirement, that they will get a permit and a safety inspection, and that they will maintain that permit moving forward. So I'm comfortable with the 3 months from May 1st, which would be what, August 1st eligible to apply. I'm comfortable with that personally.
Everyone else comfortable with that?
Well, I'll make a motion and we can see who's comfortable with it. You want to say something,
I
Phil?
do. I have a question, though. If the appellant reapplies on August 1st, is there a possibility that the zoning administrator can still deny the permit?
Not if she
think so.
fulfills all the requirements.
And that might be a question for,
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
That's a great question.
if we give the 3 month, a 3 months,
Relief.
penalty, right? When the appellant reapplies for their permit, the zoning administrator could still technically deny.
In that instance, only if the application requirements were not fulfilled. It would not be denied due to prior operation.
Thank you.
All right.
The board ruling supersedes the zoning administrators.
Appreciate that. Nicole?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we find that the zoning administrator did not err in finding that the appellant had operated prior to obtaining a permit. However, we impose a 3-month wait period to apply for a permit from starting May 1st of 2024. So she would be eligible to apply August 1st of 2024.
Second.
Can we see a show of hands? Very good. So, Ms. Bigelow, you're given leave to reapply starting on August 1st.
You don't have
Very
to
good.
stay if you don't want to. But
Yes, ma'am. Yep. Very good. Okay. Alicia, you got that. That was unanimous. You guys convinced me. So, moving on, next case.
Next case is STR 2024-021. It's Ian and Carissa Martin, 2247 Klein Avenue. Permit was revoked. The STRP is not the primary or principal residence of the owner. It's an R6 district, which allows only owner-occupied permits. The permit is governed by BL 2020-187, and the board has discretion under BL 2023-136. March 15th of 2017, the appellants acquired 4509 Stonemead Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, which is a 2,715 square foot dwelling in southwest Davidson County near the Bellevue area. June 10th of 2021, the appellants acquired 2245 Klein Avenue. September 1st of 2022, the appellants acquired 2247 Klein Avenue. 2245 and 47 Klein Avenue constitute a horizontal property regime, or HPR. To obtain a permit, owner-occupied STRP at the owner of the property shall permanently reside in the STRP or conforming uses in a single-family and 1- and 2-family zoning districts. The owner shall permanently reside in a residential unit on the same lot. Only one permit shall be issued per lot in a single- and 2-family zoning district. Ownership of two-family dwellings. The property ownership of the 2-family units cannot be divided, and the 2-family units shall be owned by the same person, and one of the 2 units shall be the primary residence of the owner. December the 20th of 2022, the owner-occupied short-term rental permit application was processed and the permit was issued. October the 8th of 2023, the Inspector Phelps received an email complaint concerning 2247 and 2245 Klein Avenue. The complaint sent in a link to a website advertisement and claimed that the owner did not live at either address, even though they have an owner-occupied STRP permit. Inspector Phelps opened an investigation. Inspector Phelps found that page 9 of the deed of trust of 2245 Klein Avenue, that number 25 of the non-uniform covenants waives the right of homestead. The warranty deed for 2247 Klein Avenue lists the new owner's address as 4905 Stonemead Drive, Nashville, Tennessee. The Metropolitan trustee lists the address of the owners of 2247 Klein Avenue as 4905 Stonemead Drive. The Davidson County Assessor of Property lists the address of the owners of 2247 Klein Avenue as 4905 Stonemead Drive. The deed of trust for 2247 Klein Avenue has a 1 to 4 family rider, which waives the occupancy requirement of number 6 of the Uniform Covenants that requires that the new owner occupy the property within 60 days of the sale of the property. It also contains an assignment of rents. Ian Martin's Tennessee driver's license is registered at 4509 Stonemead Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, with the expiration date of June 7th, 2028. Mr. Martin's automobile has an address of 4509 Stonemead Drive. Automobile registration has an address of 4905 Stonemead Drive. And Mr. Martin's voter registration is at 4905 Stonemead Drive. Ms. Caressa Martin's Tennessee driver's license is registered at 4905 Stonemead Drive. And Ms. Martin's automobile registration has the address of 4905 Stonemead Drive. And Ms. Martin's voter registration is at 4905 Stonemead Drive. The Metropolitan trustee lists the address of the owners of 4905 Stonemead Drive as 4905 Stonemead Drive. The Davidson County Assessor of Property lists the address of the owners of 4905 Stonemead Drive as 4905 Stonemead Drive. On May 17th, 2024, the letter of revocation was sent notifying the appellants that the permit for 2247 Klein Avenue would be revoked 15 days from the date of the letter in accordance with Metropolitan Code 6.06.090.b. May 24th, 2024, the appeal was filed. June 1st, 2024, the permit revocation went into effect. The Airbnb advertisement was changed to a 30-night minimum stay, and the VRBO ad cannot be booked. However, there are 3 June reviews on the Airbnb ad indicating that short-term rental property activity has continued. The Martins Airbnb host page show that they manage properties at 3510, 3512, 3514 Albee Drive in Nashville, Tennessee, as well as 2245 Klein Avenue. None of these properties have permits, but all the advertisements are set for a minimum booking of 30 nights. In addition to the email complaint that initiated the case on September 18th of 2023, there was a complaint on the short-term rental property hotline for Klein Drive in which the caller stated, "Host obviously do not live in either house and rents out both units on the lot." The complaint did not include a street number. However, the caller provided evidence contained screenshots from the website advertisement for 2247 and 2245 Klein Avenue. A copy of the complaint and the caller provided evidence are included in your case file at the end. Finally, at the end of the case file are photographs documenting Inspector Felt's site visits to the property in question. He did not see either of the Martins' vehicles on any of the visits to the property under appeal. However, on 2 occasions, he did see packages for Ms. Martin that had been delivered to 4905 Stonemead Drive. And on a site visit on July the 22nd of 2024, Inspector Phelps did see Mr. Martin's vehicle at 4905 Stonemead Drive and documented that with photos.
I realize, Mr. McBroom, that we once again did not check to see if the appellants were here. Okay. And is there opposition here? No. Okay. Very good. Come on up and
Can I ask a question for staff real quick?
Yeah, well, I'm not
Okay.
gonna keep you from that. I was just gonna ask if one of the Martins is going to be speaking, could you choose that microphone instead? Just because we were having some feedback on the first one. And now, please, anyone have any questions for Metro before we hear from the appellants?
Yeah, sorry to get ahead of myself. Do you know what documents they provided at the time that they were issued the permit? If all of their voter registration, driver's license, all the stuff we would usually expect someone to provide as proof of residency?
I can find that for you.
Okay, if it's gonna take you a minute, that's fine, go ahead and we can hear from the appellants in the meantime if we want.
I'm giving Mac a second to do this, just so we don't lose momentum. Getting anywhere? Here.
It
I-
appears
I-
we have a bank statement, mortgage statement.
I emailed it to myself because it was so confusing. Here, let's get through. There's a long, one thing is the, oh, do you need help?
Okay, thank you.
A lot of it is the warranty deed.
A Simmons Bank statement, and a Department of the Army memorandum for record.
July 10th at
There were
3:02.
quite a few on that day, though, I think, weren't there?
Yeah, that's.
435 underscore 001.
All right, is that, you found what you needed?
We had the mortgage loan statement, we had the Simmons Bank statement, and we had the Department of the Army
Got it.
memorandum.
Very good. And do you guys, are you finding what you need? Okay,
Sorry, I'm all
quite all right,
swept down.
He left it. So.
dude. Okay. Very good. Okay. Everybody ready? We are going to hear from the appellant, and then we may have some questions for you. So you have 5 minutes. Don't feel like you have to use it all, but go ahead and tell us about your situation.
We moved in September of '22, and we were going to lease the 4905 house. And then in December, the leasee for 4905 Stone Mead fell through, and everything kind of fell apart, and me and my wife separated. And so I've been staying there. She stays at 4905. I live in the basement. I'm there roughly 12 to 15 days a month.
Chairman, we need the appellants to state names.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That is 100% my fault. I apologize, Ms.
My name
Martin.
is-
We need your name and your address for the record, and that is on me. I apologize.
Ian Martin, 2247 Klein Avenue.
Very good. Okay, sorry. We won't hold that against you in your time, so please continue.
I don't really know what else y'all want to know. I live there. I'm there roughly half the month. I travel for work probably 8 to 10 days, and that's it.
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
if you live there, could you just explain why, like your driver's license, your voter registration?
I've changed my registration actually the last couple of days. I don't know why I didn't change my driver's license. I just hadn't thought about it.
Could you turn your mic on? Sorry. Just for the record. Okay. You said you changed your voter registration the last couple of days and you haven't thought about your driver's license.
Correct.
Okay.
Ms. Martin, do you attest to this, that you guys are separated and you live in two different houses?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And is this an official separation? Is there a separation agreement?
No separation agreement.
Could you just state your name and address for the record? Sorry.
Sure. Carissa Martin. I'm now at 4905 Stonemead.
I have a couple more questions. Mr. Martin, when did you move to 2247 Klein Avenue? You might have said that.
September
Of,
22.
okay. And then, I noticed that there were 3 documented stays, it looks like in June, which was after the permit was revoked and after your appeal was filed. Could you explain that?
Yeah, I guess I just didn't really realize that nobody was supposed to be staying.
Did you not receive a letter which told you that all activity had to cease?
Yes.
So that's pretty clear, right?
She received it. I was gone. I was actually I was in Chile. And so I guess I didn't know.
It just said that the permit was revoked.
Right. So with no permit, you're not permitted,
Well,
right?
I guess I thought the appeal, like that's where until we got the final decision, it didn't really say like cancel what you have currently. So that's why I didn't cancel those in June.
But you don't live there, right?
Well, but I helped manage it because he's gone and he's a man.
Yeah, I think if, I'm looking at a letter from dated May 17th that says, this
Sorry, I
letter,
didn't mean that offensive.
this letter serves as your formal 15-day notice of revocation. On June 1st, this permit will be revoked and you will not be permitted to operate any short-term rental activity at this address after that date. Advertising, renting, or any other type of short-term rental activity or operation at the subject address will be a violation of law.
And subject you to prosecution in environmental court.
Yep.
So it looks pretty clear.
I thought the appeal was the purpose of going against the permit.
So I have
Sean, go ahead.
a question for staff. Did you say that Mr. Osborne had gone out to 4905 Stonemead Drive and had seen the Mr. Martin's vehicle there?
No, it was Inspector Phelps.
Inspector Phelps. But is that the case? The Inspector Phelps found that Mr. Martin's vehicle was at the...
That's correct. You should have received a supplemental packet of photographs that came in the day before yesterday, Monday.
Okay, and I guess I'm just wondering if you're living at the one of the duplex properties, why is your vehicle at 4905 Stonemead?
He came and cut down 2 trees on each side of the house.
Okay.
There's a gigantic pile in front of our house.
And when was the tree? What date approximately?
So I go over there. She travels for work. I'm not going to say that I'm never over there at the house. Yes, I do go over there some. We're not divorced, so I do go over there. I don't live there. I live at 2247.
Metro brush pickup was July 22nd. So it would have been the 2 days before that, 21st, 22nd.
If we could get the date that Mr. Phelps took those photographs, is that possible?
Yes, it was July 22nd.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the Martins?
I have one more, I think. Y'all also own 2245 Klein Avenue. Do you have, like, what's going on at 2245?
So 2245 is just a long-term rental. And I bought the place. I work in Lebanon and was going to shorten the drive from driving from West Nashville every day.
Got it. Thank you.
And then there's 3510, 3514.
Yes, ma'am. So my buddy passed away and his mom owns probably 30 properties in Nashville. And if you look, we're not the owners of that. We're just the host. So she was having trouble with long-term renters not paying rent. And me and my friend, Lehman Weaver, had talked about putting them on 30 days or more Airbnb. And so when he passed away, she said, hey, would you like to do this? I'm like, sure. And so we host, and we're fixed to add another one out there to it. But all we do is help her get it set up. She's 90 years old, and it's all long-term, though. But I don't live in any of them. They're not in my name. John Weaver, and that's who the owner of the Airbnbs are.
Anyone else have any questions for the Martins before we discuss this? Hearing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, which means unless we reopen the public hearing to put any further questions to you folks, we won't be hearing from you again. Okay, so we're just going to discuss this and we'll let you know our decision at the end. So you're free to grab your seats if you like. All right, everyone.
So I can say that I'm having a difficult time finding that the zoning administrator erred in determining that the appellant does not live at the whichever side of the duplex it is that they're saying they live in. It's a married couple. There's no official separation. The appellant is over at the, it's quite possible that the appellant told us that he's over there from time to time, at least. And to me, that I'm just not seeing enough evidence here to say that the zoning administrator erred in determining that the appellant does not live at the property.
Whitney?
I also, the continued stays after the appeal was filed, when the letter is very clear, I think that that's a factor leading me to agree with you.
Phil's nodding. Mike? I think we're all pretty much in agreement on this one. So I'm going to make a motion that we do not find that the zoning administrator erred in his determination that this is not the permanent residence of the Martins. Do I hear a second? Second. Do I see a show of hands? Very good. Okay, thanks so much for coming in today, Mr. and Mrs. Martin. We appreciate your time, but we're not going to be offering any relief on this case. We wish you all the best. Thanks for coming in.
And we could also maybe clarify, as zoning administrator Hargis has clarified, I think in the past, that if they do formally separate or get
Right.
divorced and there's,
When circumstances change,
evidence,
circumstances
yeah,
change. Yeah.
Yeah, you
We're-
can
we're-
reapply.
We're not asking that folks do that. We're asking that folks establish residency in the place that they're applying for a permit in.
Right.
Just to be clear. we're not
Well, I'm not asking anyone to do that, but I think that there has to be some.
Mrs. Martin
sort
has
of-
returned, so I think what I'll put on the record here is that when circumstances change, circumstances change. So down the road, when circumstances change, you can revisit this issue with zoning. When there is a very clear indication of people living in a home that is claimed as an owner occupied, it needs to be an owner occupied. And so when circumstances change that perhaps it appears to be an owner occupied, you can revisit this with zoning. But we have determined that there was no error.
And but they would still have to wait the 1 year.
Yeah. Yes.
Period. Just clarify.
Refer to. Oh, so she's gone. Nonetheless, yeah. I think we're good. Moving on.
Our next case is STR 2024-022, 4022 Woodmont Boulevard. Randy McWhorter is the appellant present. Is there any opposition? Seeing that the appellant is present and there is opposition, that will be 10 minutes allotted to each side.
We're going to hear from Metro first. If you want to come up, Mr. McWhorter, you're welcome to. Please sit in the far seat if you don't mind, just because it's a better mic. And we'll let you know when we're ready to hear from you.
This is for advertising and operating with an expired permit. This is an R10 zone. It allows only owner-occupied permits. The permit is governed by BL 2020-187, which requires this has 1 year wait period. It is a 6-month wait period for an expired permit. The board has discretion under BL 2023-136. On April 24th of 2019, the appellant acquired the property at 4022 Woodmont Boulevard. On March 8th of 2022, a STRP permit application was submitted, and on March 17th, the permit was issued. On March 17th of 2023, the permit was renewed. On March 18th of 2024, the permit expired. On March 19th of 2024, Alicia Buffer, the short-term rental property administrative assistant, emailed the appellant asking if he intended to renew the permit as it had expired, and there was no response. On April the 17th, 2024, Ms. Buffer emailed the appellant asking if he had intended to renew the permit as the 30-day grace period had expired. Again, there was no response. On May 2nd, 2024, the property address was on the monthly list for April 2024 provided by Granicus Host Compliance for STRPs advertising and operating without a permit or with an expired permit. Inspector John Phelps followed up on the property. He confirmed that there were 2 ads posted with documented stays after the 30-day grace period had expired. The documented stays are April 2024, 4, May 2024, 2. A notice of violation was sent. On May 23rd of 2024, the website advertisements remained posted, and Inspector Phelps made a site visit to the property and posted a stop work order, which he documented with photographs. On May 28th, 2024, the appellant emailed Inspector Phelps, who forwarded the email to Inspector David Frabbit for follow-up. Inspector Frabbit replied, Mr. McWhorter, your STRP permit and the number did expire on 3/17/2024 and is also beyond the 30-day grace period for renewal. Unfortunately, by law, this permit cannot be renewed. Also, there are documented stays on the property since the permit expired, and therefore you will have to wait 6 months from the last documented stay before you are able to apply for a new short-term rental property permit. Please remove your online advertising or change it to a 30-day minimum per stay considered a long-term rental. If you do not have additional stays beyond the one documented in May, you may apply for a new STRP permit beginning November 15th of 2024. Also, you may appeal to the STR Board of Appeals that we codes erred in our assessment that you operated with an expired STRP permit. On May 28th of 2024, Mr. McWhorter expressed that he had experienced some serious health issues beginning in February and then through the following months. Mr. McWhorter filed an appeal. The complete email correspondence is included at the end of the case file. There were no complaints on the STRP hotline or on the hub Nashville. However, there were 10 letters in opposition to granting the release sought by the appeal. These letters resulted from the required appeal notification mailing.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for staff before we hear from Mr. McWhorter? It does not sound like it. Can I just clarify? This is an owner occupied. I mean, it's quite obvious that he lives there, but, right?
That's good.
Owner occupied, very good. I just didn't see it on the list. Okay. Since there is, I'm sure you heard earlier, since there's opposition to your case here today, you're given 10 minutes, but that 10 minutes includes any time that you want to use for rebuttal after your neighbors or others have had this opportunity to speak. So please don't feel like you have to use the whole 10 minutes. And if you're going to want to speak after these folks are done speaking, you're going to need to save some time anyway. So, sound good? For the record, we're going to need your name and address, since I keep missing that today. And then tell us about your situation.
My name's Randy McWhorter, and I live at 4022 Woodmont Boulevard, Nashville, Tennessee, 37205. It was pretty straightforward. Starting in early February, I started having issues at work, chronic fatigue, etc. And by the end of February, I was out on short-term disability to figure out what was going on. And to be honest, all of my appointments that are related to the house, the property, short-term rental, when bills are due, I put on my work calendar as a personal event. And because I wasn't using my work computer, I didn't get a note. I didn't notify myself that I had a renewal due, or I would have renewed it. The second time that a renewal would have gone into my email box, I had a lot of health issues, but one of which was a heart attack that I had. And I was in the hospital for 3 days. And at that time, I didn't come out of the hospital and look right at my email. So I missed it. I became most aware of it when a gentleman knocked on my door and put a placard on the front door that said I needed to turn all of my rentals into 30-day rentals. So I did that immediately, and I called into the short-term rental board to ask questions, and I called Airbnb to ask them what I should do. And I know now that I was confused about what to do with the rentals that I currently had, because I thought, because they asked for me to move all the rentals to 30 days, that this breach of me renewing wasn't going to impact the existing permit or the existing guests I was hosting over the next 3 to 4 months. And so I didn't remove it. I didn't remove any of those sites. And then I talked to Airbnb and I told them about my health issues. And I said, can I send you this and have you tell me if I'm doing what's right? And the lady said, it looks like you're supposed to cancel a lot of your short-term rentals. So I canceled all those guests for, I guess, end of March, end of April, end of March, all the way through, and set upon starting to do the approval process to get my appeal approved so I could re-rent the property. I've been renting there since 2022. It's a in-house mother and father's suite that was built with the property in 1937. And it's lovely. A lot of my guests that come there are actual hospital stays that come back and forth to Ascension or Vanderbilt. I love doing it.
Very good. Any questions for Mr. McWhorter before we hear from the neighbors?
I just wanted to clarify the timeline a little bit because I'm seeing a review from a stay that looks like it was in June. And I thought you said you had canceled all of them from end of April moving forward.
No, I had one of my guests who returns for cancer treatment at Ascension text me in June, but I haven't had any stays since April.
We do have via host compliance that there were 2 documented stays in May,
Yeah.
as well as 4 documented stays in April.
Okay, so the April ones, they would have occurred because I didn't get anything to cancel. Here, I'll just pull up mine.
So
Well, the stop work order
I was about to say May 23rd
was
on
May
the stop
23rd.
work.
So
and
yeah, you'd
that's
have
when
a
the
couple,
appellant says he
even
was
if you
made
had a
aware.
couple in May, they could have very well been before May 23rd, that's for sure. Okay.
Yeah, so you're seeing a review?
Yeah, it looks like it was pulled on, the screenshot that we have was pulled on June 13th, and there's a stay from Allison from New York from a week ago on June 13th, which would have put it early June, and said Brandy's Airbnb was even nicer than the photos. I would definitely stay here again. That's the only one I'm,
So these 2 were the ones that I didn't cancel after the posting, because the posting just said, change all of your rental to 30-day.
when you say the posting,
The placard.
the stop work order.
Yeah, so when I got the stock order, it didn't say, please cancel all upcoming guests and turn your listing into 30-day
I
rental.
see.
It
So I
said
didn't know I needed to do that till a week or 2 later.
I got it. It says,
And then-
please, yeah,
remove ad
or change calendar to 30
nights.
nights. Okay.
So I apologize for that.
You took the ad down,
Yeah.
just didn't cancel it. I see.
So since then, I haven't had any.
Okay. Thank you very much for clarifying.
Did you get a letter as well? Not just the stop work order, but wouldn't you have gotten a letter saying to discontinue?
I don't remember getting a letter.
Okay.
Sir, it looked like you had your app up. What were the dates of those last 2 stays, the ones that did not get canceled?
The dates of those were one from May 31st to June 4th. And then that afternoon, June 4th to June 11th.
Thank you, sir.
And those are the last 2 that I have there and on my calendar.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Recorder, if I could just follow up on some information that you shared with zoning in one of your emails. You said you've been a super host with Airbnb and other platforms since 2014, and that you've never missed a permit renewal. Can I just ask what your other Airbnbs are, what your other short-term rentals are?
I operate a short-term rental in San Diego, and I had a 1-bedroom apartment in the backyard of my bungalow that a previous owner built for his son coming home from Vietnam, and I never really had a use for it. And when Airbnb came around, a friend of mine said, you should put that on Airbnb. So we put it on Airbnb, and it worked beautifully because it was a corner property, and the guests could park in the back. They could enter through a back gate, go to their unit. If they wanted to meet me, I was happy to meet them and sit on the deck and have a drink. And if they didn't want to meet me, I could leave them alone. And then when I was there, we had a guest, a couple from Birmingham, New England, who was here celebrating with their son who'd been married. And the husband and wife booked their Airbnb on the platform for us. But the sons used this app called Mr. B&B, which I'd never heard of. And so they would come over to our house and we'd hang out and have drinks. And they said, you should really list on Mr. B&B. And I never listed on it because we really got all the guests. And I felt really safe with Airbnb because of their $1 million insurance.
Can I ask another?
Please, you don't need my permission.
When you were, first of all, I'm very sorry to hear about your health issues, and I hope that you are doing better. It seems like you're doing better. When you were on short-term disability in the hospital, who was managing the Airbnb during that time?
So during the time that I had the guests, I was doing it, but we were mapping, getting ready to do the operation. So now I have a close neighbor that's going to be helping me co-manage when I put it back in,
Okay, thank you.
if you guys will grant me the ability to do that.
So if there are no more questions, I think it's time that we hear from the opposition. Good. Mr. McWhorter, I'm going to ask you to step back just because I think this microphone's working better for everyone. And then I'm sure you have time left if you want to rebut anything that you hear. Folks, why don't you come on up? And you'll recall from the instructions given earlier that you have 10 minutes total between the two of you. Please don't feel like you have to use the whole thing if it's unnecessary. And if you could, both of you, if you're both going to speak, give me your name and address for the record, and then tell us about the situation. Nope.
There's a button on there if you push it, please.
There you
Okay,
go.
there you go. Okay, I'm Ward Camack, and this is my wife, Shelley Camack, and we live at 15 Valley Forge, which is in Sugar Tree, which is about 100 yards toward Harding Road. We're about 100 road, we are 100 yards from Mr. McWhorter toward Harding Road.
Okay.
And we want to point out a couple of things, and that is where the driveway comes in and out is at a kind of dangerous place. It's at the top of a hill, a long hill, both ways. So one side of the hill is on one side of the driveway, and other side of the hill is on the other side. And there have been accidents there. There have been cars that have run off the road and ended up in Sugar Tree. And a friend of ours also lost his life right there. And that was some time ago. But our concern is the safety of people staying there who are less aware of the traffic. The traffic gets really busy in the late afternoon, and people drive much too close to each other. And if somebody was suddenly turning left into the house, coming up from Harding Road, that could be a disaster. So I'll stop there.
Anything you'd like to share?
I'm Shelley Camack. I know this house is on the market and it's been on the market for quite some time. So I hope that it'll sell soon. I think that we didn't understand that Mr. McWhorter was doing 30-day rentals. We thought that it was maybe short-term weekend stuff. And we have a number of hotels in Green Hills and one going into the Belmead Plaza area designed to take up that kind of traffic. We have suites in our clubhouse at Sugar Tree we use for that, where we pay and rent them out for people who can't fit in our own homes. And, but I do understand the need for people to be near that hospital because we are within a stone's throw of it. We could all walk there if we had to. And we just want to come in and express our concern over how bad the traffic does get on the road.
Understood. So just on reviewing, there are quite a few letters from a few of your neighbors, but I don't think that there's one from you folks, right?
No.
Okay, very good. Just wanted to make sure. We'll take it. We're honored. Thank you. Anyone have questions for, please go right ahead.
Have you all had any issues in particular as a result of because he's had a short-term rental permit since 2022, it looks like, so over 2 years. Have you had any particular issues as a result of his operation of his short-term rental, or is it just more generally concerns about safety, traffic, et cetera?
Okay, I got it.
Okay, no, just general concern.
Got it.
Thank you.
I am on the board over at Sugar Tree, and we have seen an uptick in some intruders and attempted break-ins in our clubhouse and some of our homes, but I can't directly attribute them to Mr. McWhorter. It's probably just the area and the times, and we're getting ready to put in gates that will be shut at night.
Any other questions? Folks, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate you coming down. It's always very meaningful to us to hear from neighbors. Mr. McWhorter, you still have time left, yeah? How much? 2 minutes and 51 seconds. If you have anything else you'd like to add, you are welcome to that time.
I'm on. I love Sugar Tree. We had a house on Valley Forge, 86 Valley Forge, that we really wanted, and somebody beat us to it with cash. We've always loved historic homes. This home is up on a hill. I say a hill meaning I believe there was limestone there, and so the homes kind of make their way up to it. The circle is quite wide, and we've never had any issues with traffic or pulling on and off the road. I think the people that have the most traffic are the ones that live inland of Woodmont Lane, because there may be 8 or 9 cars trying to get out, and with us, it's me, we're the tenant. We try to notify our people of the area that they're in. We post, as you know, guest books that show multiple places to eat. If you're going downtown, go here. If you're going West End, go here. If you want to stick around with the locals, go to Sam's Place, that kind of thing. And so I hope that you know that we do our best to make sure that the traffic isn't an issue. And we a lot of times will tell people, especially hospitals stays, if you wait until after 7:30, 8 o'clock, some of that morning traffic goes down. But I find Tennessee drivers to be very friendly. If you're sitting there waiting a long time and you're trying to cut out, a lot of times someone will slow down and wave you over. So I appreciate your comments, but I think they're very, I said, probably a dozen or so of our guests come back over and over and over.
Any further questions for Mr. McWhorter before we close the public hearing and discuss this amongst ourselves?
One more. And you said this is like a mother-in-law suite?
Yeah, on the ground.
Okay.
Unfortunately, on the ground floor, there's a really wonderful mother-in-law suite,
Okay.
which we would normally use as a master. But for whatever reason, the downstairs gets a little chilly in the winter. So we sleep upstairs in a second master, and that first one was just sitting there going to waste.
Okay.
So it was built as a mother-in-law suite for the Gluck family from New York. They're the jewelers in the 30s.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. We are going to close the public hearing and discuss this amongst ourselves.
I can start.
Go right ahead.
So, I know there were a lot of neighbor opposition letters, but I didn't find any letters that were specific to this property. It was just more generally, we don't want short-term rentals. But I think what was actually instructive for me was that there were people who said, we didn't even realize that he was operating a short-term rental, which to me is like a great thing. Like if your neighbors are not realizing that you're operating a short-term rental, then you're probably doing a pretty good job of keeping things under control. Again, this is sort of that quintessential, like what we thought about when we conceived of the owner-occupied short-term rental permit, was home sharing. I understand that there were notices, but I also have had medical issues myself in the past and completely understand being behind. I think, to me, I'm inclined to offer, I would say, probably 3 months from the last stay, which he said ended on June 11th. So that would be July, August, September 11th. That would just be something I would throw out there because I feel like he took steps. The stop work order is unfortunately a little confusing, but he took steps to remedy the issue and has been a good actor by all accounts. And doesn't seem like he renewed on time once, so doesn't seem like he's going to make this mistake again.
It is really the quintessential home share type situation. This isn't one of the party houses that we unfortunately know about. The gentleman is upstairs, truly. We are loath to ignore such outcry from the neighbors. But again, as Nicole said, it really was related to general problems with Woodmont, not so much Mr. McWhorter's Airbnb. So I am inclined to agree.
I think that, we are inclined to look at hardship. We're inclined to look at public policy. I echo everything that you said. I would be inclined to even make it a shorter time period in this particular instance.
I would too, actually.
I agree.
All right.
I agree.
Pick a number.
I think Councilmember Parker did have his light on. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna, I think this has already been said, but a lot of the emailed opposition, said it was sort of generalized opposition to short-term rentals. I just want to make it clear that for an owner-occupied property in almost all of Nashville, this is it's interpreted as a property right. It's something that you can walk in and if you meet the requirements, get a permit for. It doesn't require additional zoning. The only thing that a decision from this board, not in favor of the appellant today, would do is cause him to not be able to operate his mother-in-law suite as an Airbnb for whatever period of time that is. So we're not in a position today to say that this gentleman cannot operate an Airbnb at his property. What we have in question is simply how long he'll have to wait in order to get a permit that he has a right to apply for and receive if he meets the requirements. So we're not in a position to say that this gentleman can't operate an Airbnb at the property. I just want to make sure that's clear to the public.
Yeah. And this isn't the kind of thing, it is seen as a residential use. That's for people with higher pay grades to discuss that it's a residential use, but there aren't traffic studies or anything associated with those permits. So even though we're delighted to hear from so many neighbors and see them all involved in their community, it really isn't something that we can address. So I think there'd been a suggestion originally this is a 6-month waiting period. Nicole had suggested dropping it to 3 months, and then we heard a more generous offer from Whitney. Do you want to put a time frame on it?
I'm open to suggestions.
Okay.
How about 2 months from the last stay? So that would be August 11th.
That sounds good to me. If
Sounds
you want to
good
make
to
that
me.
motion.
And the June stay was self-admitted by Mr. McWhorter because it's not.
Yeah,
Correct.
June 11th.
Yeah.
He's very honest and forthcoming about that with
Yeah.
something that is not included in
It's
Metro's considerations.
it's about 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. Okay. Let's have a motion that we will find that the zoning administrator did not err in his decision. However, we are going to grant a shortened waiting period to 2 months of the last documented stay, which gives the appellant the opportunity to reapply come August 11th. Very long motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Show of hands? Very good. Ms. McWhorter, thank you. And folks, thank you so much for coming in. And please share with your neighbors that we are delighted to hear from them. And there were just some restrictions in what we could consider. Alicia, yeah?
I second it.
Like everybody, I don't know.
Very good. Okay, thanks, everyone. Wishing you all the best. Thanks so much for coming in. Okay, next case. Oh, can we have a quick break
Yeah.
before we do the last case, next case? Do we only have one left? Okay. Go. I know it's been a long one today. Do I need to have a motion to do a break?
You're presiding.
Are we good? Do we need Ann? Okay, let's get back to business. We have one more case.
This case is 2024-023, 4025 Yost Drive, Karthik Chikkarala, advertising operating prior to obtaining a permit. Our appellant is present with no opposition. This is an RS-20 zone district, which allows only owner-occupied permits. This is governed by 2020-187, requiring a one-year wait period. And the board has discretion under BL 2023-136. On April 18th of 2024, this property was on Metro's compliance contractor, Chronicus Host Compliance monthly list for operating without a permit. Inspector John Feltz opened an investigation and confirmed that there were 2 website advertisements posted with reviews. One Airbnb ad with 12 reviews going back to November of 2023, and one Booking.com ad with 2 reviews. A notice of violation was sent. There are 2 email threads between Mr. Chikkarala and Inspector David Frederick going back to March 28, 23. I merged the 2 threads, and they read as follows. From the appellant: Hi, David. This is Karthik. Do you think I can do a non-owner occupied permit on this property at 1214 Lishy Avenue, Nashville? And then Mr. Frederick responded, that came in at 4:33 p.m. on March the 28th. At 5:32 p.m., the same message was sent again. On March 29th of 2023, Mr. Frederick responded, 1214 Lishy Avenue is located within the SP zoning category and will allow one owner-occupied STRP permit. Because the permit has a legal DADU, which is a detached accessory dwelling unit, you may permit it for STR use. Ownership of the property must be in the name of a natural person, and it would have to be your permanent residence. On May 11th of 2023, the appellant wrote to Mr. Frederick, this is Karthik, looking to purchase a house at 2749 Windermere Drive, Nashville, Tennessee, or 5000 Millerwood Drive, Nashville, Tennessee. May I know if this is SP zone category, and can I get an STRP permit? Please let me know. And on May the 12th of 2023, Mr. Frederick responded, 2749 Windermere is located within the RS30 zoning district and will allow one owner-occupied permit. Ownership must be the same, in the same name of a natural person, and it must be their permanent residence. 5007 Millerwood Drive is located in the RS10 zoning district and will allow one owner-occupied STRP permit. Ownership must be in the name of a natural person, and it must be their permanent residence. On June the 11th of 2023, the appellant again wrote, can I get a STR license permit for the property at 4025 Yost Drive, Nashville, Tennessee? Please let me know. That is the property that is on appeal today. And on July the 17th, Mr. Frederick responded, 4025 Yost Drive is located within an RS20 zone district and will allow one owner-occupied STRP permit. Ownership must be the same in the name of a natural person, not a trust, LLC, etc. It must be your permanent residence. The current owners have a STR permit. These permits do not transfer, so make sure there is no STR advertising or operating until you obtain your own STRP permit. Let me know if you have additional questions. The next email is from June the 6th of 2024. April the 8th of 2024, the property was cited for advertising and operating a short-term rental property without a permit. The appellant wrote, "Hi, David. I hope all is well with you. The property, 4025 Yost Drive, Nashville, is owned by me. In order to obtain a license, I have sent an email last year to obtain an STR permit before buying the property, but we have not received a response. However, after talking to John Phelps this week, we discovered that although the previous owner, James Thacker, had a permit on his property until May of 2024, we were unaware that it had been voided when he sold it. Based on the permission that was in effect at the time, I think that we were operating lawfully. At this point, I need to refer back to the July 7th and July 17th emails of 2023, in which the appellant inquired about a permit for 4025 Yost Drive, and then on July the 11th, and then on July the 17th, Mr. Frabert responded that it was eligible for an owner-occupied permit, and the current owners have a STR permit, and these permits do not transfer, so make sure that there's no STR advertising or operating until you obtain your own. And to continue on in the same email, the appellant wrote, "I am new to Nashville and don't know much about regulations here. However, after talking with John, I do now understand, and we are working to get an owner's permit in my name. John advised me to go to you first because there is some ban in place. I apologize, as previously mentioned, we were uninformed of this and believe we were doing lawfully with what we were doing was lawfully with the permit in place. I have always been in contact with you prior to the purchase of any house in Nashville to make sure we're abiding with all regulations. I thus ask that you please check into this and take appropriate action to lift the ban. I appreciate your assistance and hope to hear from you shortly." And then on June the 7th, Mr. Frabert responded, operating a STRP without a permit carries a 1-year wait before you may apply for a permit. We have records indicating online advertising for less than 30 days on 5/15/24. Therefore, you will be able to apply for a new STRP permit on 5/15/2025. As long as there is no documented rental activity of less than 30 days that the property is now in. Another also attached is my email to you on 7/17/23 informing you of the ability to STR 4025 Yost, where it clearly stated that the STR permits do not transfer and not to operate until you obtain your own permit. Later that evening, the appellant responded, "I apologize for entirely missing and not seeing the email that was sent 5 days later. It is also the reason I got the LLC, since I was unable to see the email and did not get a chance to respond as I typically do. I apologize deeply. I had no idea about these bans because I had never heard of or experienced them. I'm also new to Nashville and mistakes do happen. We changed it to 30 days and when we were informed. I would be grateful if you could please give a second chance and also reduce the time. Please do the needful and look forward to hearing from you." Then on, that was June the 7th at 8:25 a.m. and not p.m. And then on June 7th at 9:21 a.m., Mr. Frabert responded, "Per our phone conversation, here is a link that references Metro Code 6.28.030 and references short-term rental. If you feel I have erred in my assessment, you are able to appeal to the Short-Term Rental Board of Appeals. If you choose to appeal reply to this email and I can generate the documents to initiate the appeal. The cost of the appeal is $409 and may take up to 6 weeks for your case to be heard. The STR board meets monthly. And then on June the 7th at 11:03 a.m., the appellant wrote, also, there was nothing mentioned about banning at all. This is not fair and hurting our livelihood. Please do the needful, and I am new to the area and learning the regulations now. We can reapply on our name. Appreciate your help. The response concerning Mr. Frabott's telling the appellant that he could appeal, it was, sure, go ahead, but please understand that I was unaware of this ban, and it's only just costing me more and also causing me a great deal of worry. Please inform me of the necessary steps for the appeal to the STR Board of Directors if you are unable to help us any further on this ban. And then Mr. Frabott's response was, I will generate the documents today. Please provide the following. And the appeal was filed on June the 10th of 2024. There were no complaints on the Hub Nashville. There was one complaint on the short-term rental hotline from November 28th of 2023. It stated that this is an unauthorized STR as there is no permit. The Airbnb ad was changed to a 30-night minimum stay. However, as of today, 6/18/2023, the ad has been removed. The Booking.com ad cannot be booked. According to the reviews on the advertisements, there were 2 documented stays in May and 1 stay in June.
Any questions for, sorry about that. Any questions for Metro before we hear from the appellant?
I do have one, just to clarify. A lot of emails here. The one where Inspector Frabott said, Mac, note the date, and then I believe forwarded the email that Mr. Frabott sent, which included all the basic information about the property, the zoning district, would allow one owner-occupied permit, cannot be in a LLC, must be permanent residence, et cetera. That email was indeed sent from Mr. Frabott to the appellant on Monday, July 17th, 2023, because we have a note here about the date of the email. I just wanted to clarify that email was sent in July of 2023.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Come on up. Why don't you grab that last chair? Yeah.
This one?
Either one, but you're going to use that microphone.
Sure.
It has a push button on it. Are we ready to hear from the appellant all? Great. So you have 5 minutes to tell us about your situation, but start by giving us your name and your address. Nope. Can you hit that button?
Did.
Oh, there you go.
Good afternoon to you all. So my name is Karthik Shikarala, and the property address is 4025 US Drive, Nashville, Tennessee.
And is that your address where you live?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So basically, as I stated, I was new to Nashville. I wasn't aware of rules and regulations. So I got hold of David Frabott's email, and I was in touch with him. If you notice, every emails that were exchanged were consecutive days. But when I asked for STR permit on July 10th, I got a response on July 17th. So I was actually checking every day at that point, and I didn't get a response. And there is a high chance when you're exchanging emails with someone, it may not get notified at the top. So I completely missed that. I apologize for that, but I didn't see it. And at that point, the permit was already on previous owner, James Tacker. So I thought I should be good to go. I didn't hear back anything from him. And that's all. He also mentioned I should get a natural person. Sorry, my English is not first language, so I didn't know about what natural person was. It is also a fact that I missed that email and got the property on my LLC. Had I seen that email that I shouldn't get an LLC, I would have already gotten it on my name. And also, I do Airbnb and short-term rentals in other states too that I hadn't gone through this. And I've been a super host for a long time. And even if you see my reviews, they have been all 5-star reviews. I follow regulations and rules of the city. That's exactly why I've been reaching out to the city asking for the permit, how I can get it. So, yeah, and that's my mistake. At one point, also, I didn't expect that I would get an email after a week. So, what else can I say? Yeah. When we heard back from the city, I didn't know who this person was. I got a notification on my board. As I said, I've never encountered this. And there are a lot of people putting placards and flyers on my house from yard maintenance, pool maintenance. So I didn't know what this could. I've been scammed before in other states, so I don't know what this was until second time we reached out and notified to John Fells. Then I thought, okay, this is serious. Then we stopped doing that. And we turned it into 30 days, and right now it's been completely shut down. And as I said, I apologize for any inconvenience. I didn't know about it. I'm new to Nashville, and anything I can add on, I would love to add.
Anyone have any questions?
Well, it
Please,
looks like
Nicole.
Mike has one. I'll let him start.
I have a question. You said you have Airbnbs in other cities and states.
Yes.
How many do you have, and what other cities?
I have in Maryland, I have in Florida, I have in Texas, I have in North Carolina, and I also have in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and also I have in Phoenix, Arizona, and Baltimore, Maryland, Greensboro. I always have gotten the license. I still have the proofs too of licensing, and I've been always super host, all 5-star reviews. Even the reviews that were left on my listing were 5-star reviews. And I take care. I also teach people how to do Airbnb and short-term rentals on my Instagram, and I have my own students how to not. There was a bad image sometimes, people not doing Airbnbs correctly. So I try to get the better reputation of short-term rentals.
And are permits required in these other cities?
Not all of them. I just manage few of them. Whichever is required, we got the permits there. I also manage property in Joshua Tree. We also had license over there.
Okay, thank you.
So how many total do you own, and how many total do you own and manage?
I manage like 5 to 6 of them, and I don't own some of them. I just rent them and Airbnb them, like rental arbitrage. Recently, I also got a license on my owner's name in Greensboro, North Carolina.
But how many do you own? You just named way more than 5 cities.
Oh, I own the Nashville one, and I own one in New Jersey. That's a long-term rental. That's not Airbnb.
In California and Baltimore and all these other places? What?
That's just I rent, and it's called as a rental arbitrage, where I rent properties and also manage properties for people.
Can you clarify that for me?
So basically, in Baltimore, Maryland, the landlord put a house for rent. So I reached out to her. Hey, listen, can we do Airbnb? I want to rent this property and sublet it.
Got it.
So I get
Thank you.
permission in writing that I could do Airbnb, and I got the license from her, which is valid till 2026. And even in Greensboro, North Carolina, and the owner's name is Melissa Clark, and the house address is 1907 Fernwood Drive, Greensboro, North Carolina. We got the license there too.
So I'm just going to clarify with you. You knew you needed a license because you would not have sent this flurry of emails to.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I
you
agree.
knew you needed a license.
Yeah, I was the one
And
who
you're,
reached out.
okay, let me just,
Sorry, sir.
I'm going to summarize this. You knew you needed a license, and you were peppering these guys with questions. I mean, I actually have never seen, they're incredibly responsive and helpful, right? Like you're naming this property, that property, can I get this, can I get that?
Yeah.
And they're responding to all of it. But you're saying you didn't get a permit because they didn't answer you for 5 days.
No, I did say I apologize. I'm not trying to blame anybody. I'm just saying like it was my human error to miss it.
Right,
And I
but
completely take responsibility for that.
This is spoon feeding. Like they got back to you and said, you can, it has to be this, it has to be that. Current owners have a permit. You can't work with that one. It doesn't transfer. I mean, you were being spoon fed this information, all of which is available in black and white on the website.
Oh, I don't know anything about website. I didn't check.
You don't know anything about website, and yet you operate all these Airbnbs. Isn't that a platform?
At that point, I'm saying I just got hold of the person's email address who I need to be in touch with.
How did you get that?
A friend of mine who operates here gave me his email address. Okay, this is the person I work with. You should talk to him. He would help you out. He was very responsive and helped because I was looking to buy different properties. And I was every time before I property, I reached out to him.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming anyone.
Incredibly helpful.
It's a human error. It's a mistake. As I said, I just didn't get the notification, which I completely missed. And I take responsibility and keep myself accountable for that. So I apologize. I just did not see that. Once I was under impression, oh, the permit was already in place, so I should be good to go. And had I checked that email, I would also garden my house on my name instead of LLC. So that also gives away the fact that I completely missed that email because I get a lot of emails and I missed it for some reason and it just did not notify me.
So,
And also my parents were not feeling well, so I was going back and forth and it was a lot of stressful situation happening with my father's health issues and stuff. So yeah.
Phil has a question.
so you mentioned that you have multiple 5-star reviews.
Yes.
Yeah, what we've been provided is something from Booking.com that shows an average rating of 2.0 with 4 reviews that are less than exemplary.
Oh, if you check, all my Airbnbs are very good. Booking.com, sometimes it's hit or miss. I'm not a big fan of the Booking.com. That's why we stopped Booking.com too. If you can see the notification, we are kind of not happy with the type of guests, even in my other areas when we had Booking.com. And also you can find out a lot of people don't have good impression on Booking.com guests. I've had people did chargebacks and destroyed my other house, and it was bad. So we tried to cut off Booking.com at that point. I sincerely go by Airbnb because there are better liability, better insurance policy, and that's why all my Airbnb reviews are pretty good. And also with Booking.com, what happens is we take a security deposit of $250 to $500, and when they damage something in our house, we don't give the deposit, so they retaliate on the reviews.
Okay, thank you for that answer. My next question, I guess, is related to the fact that you said that you train people
Yes.
on Airbnb, on how to do Airbnb, how to be a superhost.
Yeah.
Yet I'm confused that if you say that you do this in all these different cities, and maybe this is a follow-up question or the same question that Chairman asked, but I'm a little confused as to if you do all of this training and all this education for others, how did you not connect we've heard in earlier cases today even that there's mentorships and programs where people can learn about the rules and regulations. How did you not see or know that you needed to do this, to have a proper permit?
Yeah. As I said, I've never been in a situation where someone already had a permit. So when I was purchasing, my realtor say, hey, you're good to go. You already have a license that's valid till next year. Okay, I was scared, but I was still in touch with these guys. But
Okay,
as I said, I
I'm gonna
apologize.
stop you for a quick second. Sorry to be, we're on a limited time here. In the email that we have a copy of, it specifically says that you cannot take the permit from a previous owner and apply it for yourself. And yet, and it says it very specifically, clear as day, yet you still did that.
No, you're totally right. But I'm 100%.
Okay.
I'm being very factual from bottom of my heart. I just didn't see that email.
Okay.
If it was natural person, I would have bought the house on my name and not LLC. Since I did not see that email, I bought it on LLC. Now I'm trying to change that LLC into my name if I were to get again. But I take responsibility. And as I said, when there are a lot of emails, since it was a few days gap, I get so many emails, I might have lost in that and was busy in purchasing my property and my family's health. But I apologize for that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I still have one. When was the last stay that you had at the 4025
May
May?
20.
On either platform, it was in May.
Booking.com, I'm not sure. It was in February and April, but for sure on Airbnb. As I said, I don't, we stopped completely on Booking.com because we had bad guests in our other houses too.
Okay,
So
we're
Airbnb,
showing,
May for sure.
got it. It's just that the information that we were provided says one in June. Am I making that up? You saw that? Okay.
It should be in May because they have 15 days time to leave a review.
July, actually.
They have 15 days time to leave a review on booking.com.
On Airbnb.
What about booking.com? How long is that?
Booking.com, I don't know much, maybe a week or 2 weeks,
Okay.
same thing. Two, but Booking.com, we kind of really was worried about people on Booking.com.
All right. Any other questions before we close the public hearing?
And it was also one of my.
There are no questions before you.
Sorry.
Are there any other questions before we close the public hearing? Okay, let's consider the public hearing closed. Thank you so much for your time. You're welcome to go sit back down. We're not going to hear from you again unless we reopen the public hearing and ask you a question. So we're going to have this conversation amongst ourselves, and we'll let you know if we need to revisit. No, we're done with the public hearing. All right, thank you.
I am not convinced that we should make any sort of change here. I haven't even looked. Is this a discretion one or is this an error one?
It is. We do have discretion, but I agree with you.
I mean, he teaches people how to have Airbnbs. He has multiple Airbnbs. The email could not have been clearer that the permit did not convey with the home when he bought it. The number of stays after the notification continued. Additionally, not even in Metro's documents on booking.com. There is a review for a 7-night stay in July 2024. And by his own admission, they had a week to 2 weeks to leave that review is his understanding. So that tells me that stay occurred very likely this month at the latest in June. So there is nothing here that gives me any indication that I would want to grant any type of relief.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I'll say the email from about a year ago that was from Mr. Frabet, I believe, that was super duper clear about the requirements and that the permit didn't carry over. I really struggle with that. And I mean, the extensive history of, I mean, our code staff are not real estate investment advisors, but like property after property, being very responsive and telling
Very
folks
responsive.
what would be allowed here and what would not be allowed here at, I see 5 or 6 different properties here in the email history. You know, I'm also not seeing anything that would point toward an inclination to grant relief here.
I'm in agreement with all of you guys and really shocked at how solicitous the staff was and being so responsive and helpful and above and beyond the call of duty. And
I'm not shocked because they're incredible, but I think they did a lot, and it was clear that the applicant knew how to get in touch with them, had gotten in touch with them multiple times,
yes,
and upon not receiving a follow-up, if you know how to get in touch with codes, you've demonstrated that you are engaging with them, then send a follow-up. But I'll make a motion to find that the zoning administrator did not err and not to grant any relief on the 1-year waiting period.
and I second. Oh. Alicia, you can pick. It was all of us. So rock, paper, scissors. Can we see a show of hands? Very good. Thanks for coming in today, sir. Unfortunately, we're not going to be offering you any relief on this, but you can have, you have leave to reapply in 1 year from the last documented stay, which we're putting at June 30th. Is that correct? It wasn't in our motion? Okay, so 1 year waiting period, and staff has to determine that because it wasn't in the motion, so we can't make it up now. So thanks so much for coming in. We really appreciate your time and wish you all the best.
I felt it's unfair because I don't even know about 1 year.
All right. Thanks for coming in. And that concludes the business of the Short-Term Rental Appeals Board for our regularly scheduled meeting. It was quite an interesting meeting today. So how?
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.